Welcome back to another weekly episode of Layers of Peace Collage Art by Treva. Lately, I have been finding inspiration in black and white photography. The sequin in the dress of this particular image has a certain shimmery appeal to it. It's as if the image is in motion right before our eyes. Cutting things out for a collage artist is a form of meditation. It is a time in which the collage artist is getting a 360-degree view of a particular image. The image is seen both for its visual appeal and also for the emotional or perhaps even spiritual appeal as well. There are times when I'm using scissors that I know using them alone can't do the job. So as you can see, I've taken out my X-Acto knife just to cut out some triangles, just to kind of help navigate removing pieces of the image that I feel no longer are needed. Part of creating collages lies within the intuitive sense of knowing what needs to be left in the image and what also needs to be taken out, because my job as the collage artist is to present the image in a new way with fresh ideas and connections. When selecting background options for this black and white image, I wanted to go with the most vibrant of colors that I could find to create the ripped strips for this particular collage. As you can see, these are the 4 that I have opted to select as potential backgrounds. And just to make sure, I went ahead and taken out my image just to place it in front of each of the colors. And I just love how the black and white and the grays of the main subject contents image is just popping on each of these, and they're all so different. I figured that they would go very well together. With my first background option, I am loving these pops of yellow and marigold along with sprinklings of sage greens. And the ripping technique that I'm about to incorporate is one especially good for thin papers. And this particular background is printed on very, very thin magazine paper. So I'm using my forefinger, my index finger, as a guide for the ripping. And I'm not worried about being perfectly straight or making perfect rips. All I'm concerned with is just taking my time to get these lovely white edges to appear. And that happens by pulling the paper toward me. Background 2 was more of an abstract piece. It had beautiful sapphires, ocean colors, and fern green running throughout. It kind of reminded me of birds hiding inside of hedges or trees. And as I was tearing this paper, I realized that it was even more thin than the first background. So I really had to use a ginger touch. And more specifically for this one, I used my thumb as my guide because I could sense that the paper was ready to rip at any time. But the fragility of this paper yielded some of the most interesting ripped results of all 4 of the papers. Background 3 was an actual satellite image of a country, and it was printed on this semi-gloss cardstock. that was actually a dream to rip. It really felt good ripping this particular paper. It ripped with ease. And being that this particular paper yielded itself to some smooth ripping, it didn't give a lot of the rigid qualities of the previous two thin papers, but instead it gave these beautiful, almost mountain-esque looking landscape lines. The fourth and final background was also another satellite image of a country and oceanscape, and I decided that I wanted to incorporate more texture into each of my rips. So I decided to go ahead and rip this particular paper against the grain to create more of textured ridges as compared to the smoothness of the rips in background 3. Now it is time to incorporate the design of the background for the subject content, and I've decided to let the rip strips lie in a horizontal pattern. So right now I'm just trying to figure out which colors feels right next to which colors. Now we're at the part of the collage making process where I get to assemble everything and layer it piece by piece. And as you can see, I have out a sheet of notebook paper, which is kind of like my catch-all for gluing things before putting it down on the official piece of paper or background. And my glue of choice for layering each of these ripped strips is my Yoo-hoo stick. And this glue in particular, it happens to stay sticky for a longer amount of time. So if there's something I want to reposition or be able to do like a tuck and layer, this glue allows me the time frame to do that compared to other glue sticks. Here's a collage handling tip that I'd like to give you. When working with very fragile or very thin pieces of paper, time is of the essence. It is important to know where you will be placing that particular piece before gluing it down and committing to a spot. And once you do get ready to glue it down, just trust the process. It's there and keep going. That will be just a part of the eclectic allure of what it is you're creating. Once I have all of the ripped strips in position, I then go ahead and take a piece of notebook paper, fold it in half, and this serves as somewhat of a press for me. It allows me the opportunity to smooth down and press all of the layers together without adding fingerprint oils or without destroying or damaging all of the work that I've just glued down. To secure the corners of my background, I am now gluing down any areas that are in need of additional adhesive. To further transform the subject content, I'm now looking for ways to incorporate more of the ripped strips within the collage. As you can see, different sizes of the strips yield to a more interesting and intriguing look visually. Here's a final look at the ripped collage that I made. Special thanks to all of you who have chosen to tune in for today's video. I do hope that you'll join me for next week, in which I'll be bringing in something new and fresh that has inspired me to create.